All right, good day, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. And welcome to our Back to School Winter 2026 webinar. First of all, Happy New Year to all of you, and hopefully you're getting started with preparations for the new semester, or may even have already started. So I hope you're all set, and if you're not set from a CodeGrade standpoint, we're here to help today. As we sort of try to do every start of a new semester now, today we'll basically first go over some of the new features we launched in the sort of past semester, the past 3-4 months, and then we'll go through some of the key features, including some best practice, sort of to give you a refresher of how to use CodeGrade. And if this is your first time using CodeGrade, then hopefully you'll gain some valuable knowledge from this. This is also being recorded, and we'll share the recording of all of this tomorrow or the day after tomorrow as well. And then you'll be able to go back to any item you might have missed. We'll also talk a little bit about what kind of features we're working on in the short term, and also how to best reach us if you do run into any problems. Of course, at any point, feel free to put something in the chat or raise your hand, and we can answer your questions. And we can also make it interactive if you wish. Without further ado, let's get started. And I'm also joined by some others of the CodeGrade team. So if you have difficult questions I cannot answer, they'll be here to help you as well. First of all, a couple of nice new features we've launched over the past while. I'll quickly go through these, and then I'll also show you them in the platform itself. So first of all, most important, we have updated the design for the student submission page. So this is the page that students get to the moment they open up a CodeGrade assignment. And hopefully this will make it much clearer. These designs are also updated in our help center. So if you link to any guides for students, they should get this new design there. We've added a diff viewer for if you're using input-output tests, and specifically regular expressions. There's now a diff viewer there, and there's also an explanation of regular expressions. We noted that students often have trouble understanding how these automatic tests work. And this will make it much easier for them to sort of see what's going on. We've also made a couple of UI improvements in the quizzes. So if you use CodeGrade quizzes, so the multiple choice questions, the coding questions, we have 2 improvements. One is that if you have large quizzes with, I think, more than 5 questions or 10 questions, you now have a drop down to sort of so students can select, and they can easily go from question 1 to question 5 if they want to sort of go back and improve. And we've also launched the ability for you to configure to show all questions on one page, so they don't have to click through it, but instead they'll be able to see it on one page. With that, to sort of make quizzes more powerful, but also in general to make the editor more powerful, you can now do plots in the editor, and this works out of the box with matplotlib and things like that. If you set up a couple of things, we'll go through how to do that. And we've made AI assistant improvements that are now in beta, so you can reach out to us if you use the AI assistant, and you want the AI assistant to be able to read the question, the assignment description, and the code that students write. Let us know, and we can set that up for you. So let me just share my CodeGrade window, and then I'll show you how this looks like in person. All right, so this is the CodeGrade course home, the course overview of your course, and here you see all the assignments. And if I go into the student view, and you can do that with that button here in the bottom left, now I can see it how a student sees it. And then if I go into an assignment, this is what students now see as the UI to make a new submission. So also if you use an LMS, and students just click on the assignment within like Canvas or Blackboard, this page will just launch immediately. And here you can see it's much more clear what students can do. So first of all, if they already have a submission, it will show their latest submission here, and they can click on it. And if I go back, I can also see how I can submit. So for this specific assignment, the online editor is turned on, and I already have a session. So I already started editing something, so I can continue with that. I can also create a new editor from the template, so from the starting point, or from my latest submission. And finally, you can also see for this assignment, there's two other methods to hand in. Upload files, where you can just upload a file or a zip. And we also added this this message there to make it clear that you can also upload an archive, or you can connect Git if you've switched it on, and you can go through like GitHub or GitLab and then submit through that. And then automatically the repo will get linked, and then every push to the main branch, they will get a new submission in CodeGrade. Finally, what you will see is that the assignment description is available here for students to read. The rubric is available, and they have the ability to see any other feedback they've gotten on previous assignments if they want to take a look at that. Of course, if you do things like group assignments or use other features, they're also available here in this page menu. So that's the new student submission page, and that's available since yesterday. If for some reason you really hate it and you want to go back to the old ways, we do have the ability now to give you the old page back, but of course that's just for the short next while as we transition to this new layout. So let me leave the student view here. All of these other features I will sort of showcase in the upcoming demos, where we will go through some workflows and things like that. But before I do that, let me quickly tell you about a couple of things that are coming soon. So our product team is working hard on some features to make things easier for you. So this assignment home we just looked at, or this course home, I guess it's called, you will soon have the ability to reorder that as a teacher. So you can decide a different order if you want that, and then the students see that order. From an auto-grading perspective, we'll have Ubuntu 24 support coming soon that you'll be able to select for your auto-grader if you want to use some newer features. And we're sort of continuing to work on the AI assistant and features there. Definitely reach out to us if you want to learn more about that. And then before I sort of get started with all of the demos and things like that, I do want to quickly highlight how to get support, because we do understand, this is the start of a semester for you. And that is always stressful. So our support team is here to help you. So we urge you, if you run into any issues or you have any questions or comments or thoughts, to sort of use this. And, they are there to help you. The best way to do that is to reach out to support@codegrade.com. And again, do this if you have any issues or feedback. If you want feedback on your auto test configuration, for instance, because we do understand that is often the most complicated part, or if you just want general help with setup. And if you want to meet with them in that initial email, if you immediately include like 2-3 time slots that work for you, they can meet with you directly. So then there's a little bit less going back and forth. Of course, if you don't want to use the support, but you just want to look online at what kind of other resources, if you go to help.codegrade.com, that's our help center, and we have for most programming languages, there's an automatic grading guide available, but also general things are all listed there. And there's a search functionality, so you can just search for what kind of things you're running into, and then get some help immediately. If anything is urgent for you, just include urgent in the subject line, and then automatically we'll get to it as soon as possible. So yeah, hopefully you'll be able to get started with CodeGrade swiftly. All right, so let me now get into sort of the main part of the webinar, and let me give you a refresher of what to do in CodeGrade, how to use it, and showcase some of those new features we've released. So first of all, the most important thing is once you link to your CodeGrade course, maybe your LMS, or maybe you're using CodeGrade standalone, so just through app.codegrade. The first thing you want to do is create an assignment. If you don't use CodeGrade integrate with an LMS, once you go through a course and you log in here and you click on a course, there's this create assignment button, and that's how you create an assignment. If you use an LMS, the workflow is through your LMS, and then again, I recommend to go to the help center, and then if you click on build your assignment and then create assignment, you can see how this is done in Canvas, for instance, and you get the steps, and it's all pretty easy. And once you've done that, you will always get to this page, and these are the assignment settings, and this is sort of where you can start setting up your assignment. In general, in CodeGrade, we see people doing two types of assignments. So your sort of general programming assignments, programming projects, and then quizzes. Both of these start off as an assignment, where you give the name and you set how you want students to hand in. If you're just doing a programming project, you can allow them to hand in using a file uploader, Git, or the editor. If you're doing a quiz, then students can only work through the editor. So that you will just select the editor here, and then everything else will go through the auto test tab where you will set up the quiz. But let's say this is a normal assignment and I want students to just hand in with the file uploader. I select that here. There's options here to set like a maximum amount of submissions, a cool-off period. And then the next thing I want to do is set the schedule. So I want to set the deadline and potentially the availability and a lock date. If you use an LMS, some of these things might be synchronized from the LMS so that you don't have to do it here. But the first thing I want to do, for instance, is make these available, and then I want to set like a deadline. If you don't set a deadline, students can always hand in. So if you don't set something, then it's just by default, it's unlimited. Then the other next thing that is always something that's important to think about is whether or not students get grades. Of course, if you are manually grading an assignment, you might want to go through every submission, assign a grade, and then at one point release everything to the students. So at that point, you would set grades published to yes, press save, and then the students will be able to see the grades. They will get a notification in their LMS, all of those kind of things. But of course, many of you use CodeGrade because of the automatic grading. And the automatic grading can give a grade immediately to students. So if that's your workflow where the assignment is fully automatically graded, whenever you create the assignment, set the grades published to yes, to enabled, and then students always get a grade immediately. It's synchronized back to the learning management system, and you're good to go. If your students are complaining, like, where are my grades? Then it's probably because grades published is not set to yes. Another thing you see here that is important is this simplified submission mode. This is for assignments that only use the editor. So if you do those quizzes, you can set this simplified submission mode to yes, and then that new page that we designed that I just showed is not shown to students. In that case, they're immediately brought to the editor or to their latest submission if they already have a submission. So this is great if you want to sort of simplify the workflow for students. Then the next step generally is to paste in or write your description of the assignment, and then to set up the automatic grading. So let me go to an assignment that's already set up, and let me start with this Java assignment. So you see here, as an example, I've set the file uploader, Git, and editor, so students can do whatever they want. And then I've written a description here in Markdown, and I can preview it here. And you can see students have to write a couple of classes. Then if I go to the auto test, you can see I created an auto test here, and I have set this up. And you can see that we grade assignments in CodeGrade with rubrics. So here you can see we have 2 rubric categories. We have the functionality of an assignment, and then we have the code quality in this case. If you want to create a new rubric, you just drag and drop in a connect rubric block, and then you can always create a new category here, and give it a name, give it a description, and then set like points, for instance. So, category, and then save it. And then you can always look at your rubric if you go to the rubric tab. So you see there's now a new category here, and this is also where you can delete it if you need to. So how the tests work is it basically starts from the top and then goes through the bottom, and then runs any tests you've assigned here. And you see we have all of these different blocks that you can use. And that's also explained extensively in our help center. So if I go to Java, you get sort of a step-by-step guide on how to set up Java. So I compile the code here in this case. And then here we use all of these blocks to sort of decide how we want to run it. So in this case, only if the code compiles, then I'm going to run any additional tests. And here in this case, we do unit testing. So we wrote some JUnit 5 tests to test this code. And if you do unit testing, if you're doing anything that's object-oriented, then unit tests are always great to use. And things like ChatGPT and Gemini are also really good at helping you write these unit tests. So it makes the process a lot faster. And then, of course, yeah, we have all of these tests. And then important, once I've written all of these tests, and I want to make this available to students, I press the build snapshot button. And then it will start running my tests. And it will always run the tests on a test submission. If you haven't uploaded a test submission, it will prompt you to upload a test submission, and this is basically the solution of your code. So I can open it here, and this is just a solution of it. It will run your test on your test submission, and then you can see the results of that. And if you're happy with how that works, then you can go ahead and publish this to students. So you can see the style is still running here. Actually, my test submission, you can see I have 1 error, but maybe I'm okay with that. And then I'm simply publish to students. We'll run on all submissions, and it will make it available to the students. You will also note there's a setup tab here. And this is where I can install any packages and programming languages I might need. So in this case, we have installed Java 21. And then we don't do anything else. And this will run once, then it will create an image. And then as soon as a student submits, it will retrieve that image and then run all your tests on that image. So anything that takes a really long time or needs the internet is always good to do here in the setup part. And then all of your tests are in the test part. So that's a quick walkthrough of how the autograder works. And this is sort of the most important thing you want to set up, because this means now your students are able to submit, they are able to get feedback automatically, and it makes that you don't have to grade them. But for some assignments, you might see that you do want to manually grade some things. So in this case, for this assignment in the rubric here, you see we have added a manual category here. And then we have a manual category here where we can say if they use Git or not. If I don't add any tests to that in here in the auto test, then they're manual by default. And if you go to the submission list, you will also see now that there is a grading status column available here. So these are all the students that have handed into this assignment. So if I were to hand in a new assignment, so I'm just going to download this archive, and then I can add submissions. As a teacher, you can always add a submission, and I can do that here, and then I'll hand it in as myself. And then you can see that there is, if assigned to me, I turn it off, you see that 2 assignments need grading. And then 1 is actually graded. So I can also assign this to me if I want, and then I can go into it, I can look at the code, I can give some feedback. You can always submit buttons in CodeGrade with Control or Command Enter. And then I can also fill in these manual rubrics if I want to. And then submit. And then also, let's do this one, and then submit everything. And then once I'm done grading this student, I can go to next ungraded submission. It will retrieve the next ungraded submission, submit it, and then go to the next one. And then also submit this. And then at some point, I'm done grading, and then I've graded all of the students. So then let's submit this. And then if I go back to the submission list, now everything that needs grading is finished, and you're done with this assignment, and you can move on to the next. Let's move on to a different submission type then, and those are the quizzes. And let me start with this one. So I'll show this from the student perspective first. So if I want to do a quiz, I can view assignment. And what you see happen here is I immediately get into the editor. And that's because the simplified submission mode is used in this specific assignment. So I don't get that window that we saw before. And this specific quiz is using 2 of those new features that we launched. The first one to show all the questions below each other. And this is sort of a data analysis example. So for this one, we get sort of a coding question. So we're given daily average temperature data for a 10-day period in California. And then we have to implement the following things. So let me make sure to, so this is how we start. So to do this, I can just guess. So I can do this manually, or I can write some code to do that. I can do, first I can check my answer, and it will just run the code. So I can do something like print hello, and then just run this again. And then what I will see is this will just output hello. So now I can write some code to show the daily average temperature. So let me just copy paste in the code. Right. So I don't have to type this all. So instead of doing this, I'm going to do this. So I'm going to make a data frame out of it, and then I'm going to create the average temperature, and I'm going to plot it with matplotlib. So now if I do check my answer, we'll run the code again. And now what you will see is another new feature is that we're showing this plot in the editor. So this previously was not possible. So I get this nice plot as a student, and I can see what the actual average is. And then I can start answering these multiple choice questions that I have after. So I can go up here. So the first one, how many days are the temperatures above the overall average temperature? I can write some code to do that, or I can now use the plot to do that. And I can do count 1, 2, 3. I can do 4 days, check my answer. And then my answer is correct, and I get a nice hint. So I can do that for all of the questions. And then once I'm done, I can hand this in. And then I get a final grade. The moment you hand in, it will always sort of rerun the code. So it's always correct. And then you will see it will say that question 4, 3, and 2 I have not correct because I didn't answer them, and question 1 I have correct, and the code is running. So in this case, I get a 40%. So let's see how that looks like from the teacher perspective to set this up. All right, so again, I go to the assignment settings. And then as you see here, we've turned on simplified submission mode, and then we've switched on the editor. And then if I go to auto test, you will see we use this block called the quiz. And if you use this quiz block, it will magically create that editor environment for the students where they can answer questions and things like that. And then you will see there's a new option here, view mode. It's either page per question, and then it will show every question on a separate page, which is generally the default that you should use. But for a quiz like this, where there's one sort of code question and they sort of have to refer back to it, you can use a single page and then it's all on the same page. And then if I expand this, you can see that every question is basically a wrap inside this quiz, and then I connect it to a rubric to make it graded. So the first thing is the coding question, and then you simply write the question statement in here in Markdown. You can give some starter code templates for your students. If you want students to be able to see the solution, you can also write the solution in here. If you leave this blank, students are not able to see it, so you just don't have to do that. And then finally, I just have a script in here. So you will see what the coding question does. I give it a file name where the code will appear in. So from the auto-grading perspective, everything the students write in a box will get put into a file called answer.py, and then I can run all my normal tests on it. So you can see we have this answer.py. And before that, we have this, we add this line to make the plot show up. And also to do that, we make sure that in the setup, we install Python, of course. But then also we pip install the packages we need, like pandas and matplotlib, but also this special package called cgplotcapture. And this will give the ability to show those plots in the editor itself. And then in the test, I have to do this sort of magic line to make sure to tell matplotlib that the backend we use is this special CodeGrade plot capture, and then it will show the plot in the front end to the students, and they can answer questions with that. Then next thing is a multiple choice question. Again, you write the question statement in here. You put your answers, you give the correct one, and then for every answer, you can also configure a hint if you want to do that. And then you can also decide if you want to order the answer randomly or the same as below. And then again, currently students are able to see the solution of this. If I were to wrap this in a height block, then you will see that now they won't be able to see the configuration and they won't be able to see the solution. So if you want to keep that hidden from students, you can do that with a height block, and you can always do things like before the deadline. So it will hide it before the deadline, but not after. If you leave it like this, it's more formative. Students can just try and get the solution. And then finally, we have some more multiple choice questions here that we've configured. We built this, we publish it, and then students can do the quiz. So this is a great way of doing more, smaller assignments, shorter code assignments, and things like multiple choice questions. Another thing I want to highlight is if we go to another coding quiz from the student perspective. If you are enrolled in the beta for the AI assistant, you can enable this, and then you can ask questions to the AI. So for instance, if I go to this question, and maybe I do something like this, and then I check my answer, you will see that for this specific one, we crashed, I get a syntax error. And maybe as a student, I don't understand this. Then if you have the AI assistant turned on, they can open up a chat box, and you can configure sort of this AI assistant to give students feedback. So for instance, I can ask something like, my code is not running, can you help? And then what you will see is it's going to retrieve the code and the question statement, and then it gives some feedback to the student. So I see the issue with your code. Your function definition is missing a colon. And it explains a bit about function definitions. It needs to include a colon. And then have you learned about the syntax, etc. And then I can always ask it. So I can add it now maybe. And I fixed it. And then it's going to check the updated code. And then it says, great job, my code looks much better now. I've correctly added it, properly indented the function body, used the correct syntax. So it should now calculate the square of any number passed to it. So I can check my answer and then see what happens. Of course, this is quite a trivial example, but especially for these introductory courses, this can be helpful. Any other feedback you can give me? And then what will happen is it's going to check the code again. And it looks great. And then it suggests a small enhancement. Maybe you want to add a doc string to it to explain it for better documentation, etc. And then doc strings work. And, I can keep talking to it, and it will give me feedback. And then again, once I'm done with this, then I can always hand it in. And then the great part is, so this is what I've handed in as a student. And then if I go to the teacher view here, there's a tab here, Assistant Chat. And then here you can see as a teacher the chats that your student have had. So you can see here as a teacher, I can review like how did this student work with the AI assistant, and I can say like things like my code is not running, can you help? And it can give feedback. And now since the new beta, it's also possible for the AI assistant to actually see the code and the question statement and things like that. So it will give much better help to the student. Again, if you want to use this, just reach out to us and we can add you to the beta. You can just do that to that support@codegrade.com email address. And then finally, let's also quickly go over that regular expression update. So of course, if you do any, let me quickly see. I haven't done C yet. Yeah. So if you're running code and you're using any input-output test, you can run a program and then you can give input to the program and then expect a certain output. So here you can see we have 3 options here. We have a full match. So the entire output needs to match, substring match, only a part of the output has to match, and then the regular expression match where you can write these complicated regular expressions. So now as a student, let me go into a student here. Oh, I haven't published the auto test. So go back to the settings, press build snapshot. And then here we can see it. Let me see. No, why this is not running. All right. Because we've run into the demo virus where we don't actually get the regular expression, but let me just show you a different one and make sure that works. So I'm just going to quickly just do a new input-output test. And maybe that's the issue. And then I'm just going to go hello world. And then let me expect something like hello world. And then I'll do it like this. Let's see how that goes. We put this at the top as well, so we get it immediately. All right, yes. So here you can see if you create a new regular expression match, then this will work. And now you can see that the pattern is explained. And then I also get a difference viewer. So you see I'm missing a space here. That's much nicer for the students to see. And again, these patterns are always a bit difficult to create. But yeah, any sort of AI tool is very good at creating these, so they can definitely help you out with that. All right, so that's sort of a refresher session on how to use CodeGrade. If you go back to the assignment home, there's just one more thing I wanted to highlight. Is often you will have TAs and other staff working with you. If you go to this assignment home and then click on course settings, of course you can go to members first of all, and you can sort of see who is in your course. So you can see that I'm in the course, there's a student in the course, and then I have another teacher named Miguel in my course, and I can see that. But then also if you go to, you can see the role here, and if you go to permissions, this is sort of how each role is defined. So this allows you to, for instance, for the TA, make sure they can do things or cannot do certain things, and also for the student. So for instance, by default, students cannot submit after the deadline. That's the default permission. If you do want to give them the ability to submit after the deadline, you can just give them that permission, and then they do have the permission to submit after the deadline. So there's a lot you can do with this. You can just search for sort of what you want to do, and then there's probably a permission for it. And then finally, this is also where, for instance, a gradebook is available. If you want that, you can download CSV and some other things like sections and stuff like that. That's all in the course settings. So again, if you go to your sort of your main assignment home, again, either you press on it here and then you can go to course settings, or there's a button here to go to course settings. All right, so then I'd like to move on to the next part, which is, are there any questions? Yes, Danielle.
Thank you. I actually have quite a few, but I'll just ask a couple. I'm interested to understand a little more how CodeGrade works with the LMS when using a rubric. So for both the automatic and the manual grading, if I'm using something like a Canvas rubric in order to utilize Canvas's learning mastery, is there any kind of syncing between the rubric and feedback in CodeGrade and what a student or teacher might see then in the Canvas rubric and the Canvas space?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and we get that often. So unfortunately, the CodeGrade rubrics and Canvas rubrics are sort of separate. So they cannot talk to each other, unfortunately. Basically, from Canvas, what happens is the CodeGrade rubrics will create a grade. We send that grade to Canvas, and then Canvas receives the grade. So yeah, it's not necessarily really compatible with the Canvas rubrics.
Then that actually leads me to my next question, if that's okay.
Yeah, totally.
So I wonder if it's possible, in some cases, you gave an example of a quiz with multiple choice questions, but if we wanted to do something a little more in depth, is there a way to embed CodeGrades within a Canvas quiz so that students are using CodeGrades to run their code, and maybe the code itself is automatically graded, but then there's some other question they're being asked that we can use the Canvas rubric to grade, for example? It's kind of I don't know if that sort of integration is possible.
Yeah, so also with this, so unfortunately, the answer to a lot of these questions is like Canvas doesn't really give us the ability to do this. So we'd of course love to integrate with Canvas quizzes, but we can only really integrate with the assignments. There are some workarounds where in the quiz you can put the link to the assignment and the students can click on it and open up a CodeGrade assignment, but it does get a bit messy. But yeah, I definitely recommend for these kind of things to reach out to the support team, or maybe they can reach out to you if they're here. to sort of talk more about this workflow.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Great. Well, if there are no further questions, yeah, go ahead.
I have one more then.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I did want to check. You showed the example of a multiple choice question with the quiz. I assume there are other question types that we just didn't see. Is that right?
So we have the coding question, of course.
Yes.
And then we have the multiple choice.
Okay.
And then we have a select all that apply.
Excellent. Okay.
We don't have a short answer text or something like that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now I promise I'm done with my questions.
No. It's all good. So definitely keep them coming if you have them. All right, Alejandra.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. I'm curious about there's a link that says plagiarism. How does it work?
Yeah, good question. And I forgot to mention this. So there is a built-in plagiarism checker in CodeGrade. It's a software similarity checker. So if you're familiar with tools like Moz, it's very similar. But basically how it works is it will check all of these students within your assignment and possibly any other assignments or things you upload to it and compares them to each other. So you'll select like a language, like Python, sort of all the mainstream ones. I don't think you can see the drop down, but all the mainstream languages are available. Java, and then you, for instance, select any other assignments you want to check against, or you can upload a zip archive with old submissions. And then once you press run, it will check them all against each other and looks at the sort of the abstract syntax tree. So if students rename variable names and things like that, that will still show up as similar. So this is really useful for sort of your larger programming assignments. If they just write 5 lines of code, they'll all write the same, and there's not really any plagiarism checking you can do. But if they do like more like projects, or they write like 50 to 100 lines, then you'll have a lot of variation. And basically, once you run it, let me see if this one has any. This has a couple of submissions, so I can probably run it. And then it's Java, so I can do Java and then run. Yeah, so you run it, and we use JPLAG. It's sort of a tool to do this, an algorithm. And then you can see you get all of these students that have 100% similarity with each other. And then you can click on a student, and then here you see that everything is exactly the same. But of course, if they would rename, these variable names and things like that, they will still show up. So it's sort of a good tool for you to get more insights into, our students copying from each other. And you can always export these to like a Word document or a PDF file if you need to send it to like an exam committee or things like that. Yeah, great.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. All right. Well, then let's start wrapping up. Again, I will share quickly that slide with the support. So again, if you have questions, you're just getting started, definitely reach out to us. And then we can also sort of look into your workflows and sort of figure out how to best do that, see if we have any workarounds available or ideas to help you with that. And then also the Help Center is a great resource. We'll send you an email with the recording of this webinar as well, so if you want to go back and sort of see what was covered. And then, we hope to see you again in our next webinar, which will be somewhere at the end of February, most likely. So for now, good luck with the start of your courses, and we hope it's all successful, and we're here to help. Thank you.